I just realized, sorry, I just realized my mic was off. So hello guys, good to see you. I'm just checking in right now. I'm just doing my usual just checkup with audio's working okay. I have it on my little tablet here, so if you hear echo, I am so sorry. I'm also checking that if the audio is working. But yeah, it's been a week, I think, right? I'm gonna double check. Yeah, I haven't seen you guys since Halloween. For some reason, it feels even longer than before, so I apologize if it feels that way to you guys too. But welcome back. We are now on session 11. And in today's stream, I decided I really wanted to bring back teaching grammar because I remember in the past it was quite popular with the learners here. So we'll dive into that in a few short minutes. I'm just gonna do one final check with everything. So I apologize if it's gonna take a bit, just like another minute more or so, and that should be it. But from what I see here, it looks like everything's okay and it's running just fine. I only just got a moment to see like how my hair looks right now, so I apologize. I'm just fixing it up right now. Yeah, I might just take off my glasses because these glasses are just reflective, and I most of the time it just looks kind of creepy seeing just the glare from my reflection. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump straight to today's stream. So sorry about that. I don't know what I was trying to say. The music is a little bit laggy, so again, I apologize. It's just buffering because I have so many things on. So Lofi is playing in the background right here for y'all who are curious. And we're just gonna go ahead and look at the presentation for today. Alright, jumping straight into it. So welcome back. Today is session 11. I originally had something else planned for today. The theme was going to be about manifestation, but I decided again that I wanted to work on grammar since it's been a while since I've done that. And I think it'd be nice to just return to something that I'm very comfortable in. Excuse me. And hopefully something that you guys might find helpful in improving your English. So in today's stream itinerary, we have greetings, we have language learner profile, language acquisition tracker. These two things I've touched on in the last few months. If you guys have been watching my study with me sessions, I use these two PDFs. These are PDFs that I created myself, and of course I will attach it to the description below. Maybe later. I just have to edit my profile a bit. If you guys are interested in having your own copies of this, and I'll touch more about this at the end of today's session too, if we have time. And then we have today's session, which is English for Everyone. This book was so popular with my language learners, especially for adult learners, and also some high school learners as well. And I thought this is a great book to start with because the books are kind of fashioned in a conversational kind of focus rather than just grammar. And in the past, I used to use the grammar books because I wanted to emphasize more on grammar than conversation style. But this one is the other way around. So I really love the English for Everyone books. I used it in my former job in the past, and I thought it was quite easy to follow. And of course, I will also be providing extra feedback and commentaries for those who are interested in improving their English too. And then finally, we have our questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, or I will always refer to these as QCCS. All right, so greetings. It's been, like I mentioned, it feels like it's longer than 2 weeks since I've seen you guys. I think it's because my weekend has been so impacted. I've had so many things happen these last few weeks. For example, I've had the Halloween competition 2 weeks ago. I had Halloween the event happen. Last weekend, I had my benefit concert that I performed in, singing and dancing. It just felt like the weeks went by so quickly for October. It was very interesting to hear from people tell me that October is usually the longest month of the year since it's like 5 weeks long. And it actually went by very quickly for me. I think it's because there are so many birthdays, so many celebrations in October that it just went by very quickly. So I'm thankful for being very productive so that the month goes by very quickly. But at the same time, it's like I miss October already because we have to wait for another year for October to roll by. So to touch briefly on what happened in the last few weeks, I competed in my very first West Coast Swing competition. I decided to compete in the novice division rather than newcomer. Newcomer is usually for people who want to try out competing in West Coast Swing, and it's usually much friendlier to newcomers too because it's usually the first couple months, usually under a year. This is where people would participate or compete in. However, I decided that I wanted to jump straight into novice, which was totally acceptable too, because I really wanted that competition feel. I wanted to know who my competitors were. I wanted to know who my leads and their experiences were, and the followers as well. And because I was a follower, I had to pay more attention to my own skills along with the leaders that I was paired up with. It was very intimidating. I was very, very stiff. Unfortunately, stage fright got a hold of me. I was not responding well to my leader's connection. I felt like I was being pulled in like a rag doll. It was my very first time. And of course, I took that with a lot of grace and patience with myself because, again, it's my first event. So you don't start off perfect anyways. So for me, it's just walking away with so much wisdom and my experience from it. I feel like I'm ready for my next competition. And I've made a promise to myself that I will definitely compete at least once a year, mainly because I feel like that would be enough time for me to develop more of my skills as a follower and have a much more permanent, a much more permanent understanding of how to be a follow, how to respond to connection, and I feel like I would have a much more solid foundation at that time. So that's why I will just limit myself to one competition a year. And another reason is because competitions are expensive. So yeah, I learned a lot from my lesson, and I think it's a great opportunity to just learn from this experience. So that's all that matters for now. And if you guys are really curious where I placed, I was tied dead last with like a handful of people, which was okay with me because, again, it's not a problem. It's my first time. I'm not really too hard on myself regarding that aspect. Okay. So yeah, if there were people in today's stream, I did announce in my Discord that I will be streaming today, and I apologize again for those who weren't able to make it. I know I wasn't able to post an announcement ahead of time. Last weekend was busy. I wasn't able to sit down and think about what I wanted to do today, and it was just this morning I was thinking about I'm bringing back grammar lessons, so I thought, why not? So yeah, I apologize for those, and this video will be available after I finish my live stream as usual. And I think I will give like a glimpse of the practice book, which I will include in today's session. Just for the stream, I mean, not just for the stream, just for the view. So I'll just leave it on for 5 seconds. I will remind you guys again when that time happens, and then you can take a screenshot and then just fill up the answers. You can leave your answers in the comments below on YouTube, in the session 11 notes if you'd like, if you are in the Discord group. And for those of you who are interested in joining the Discord group, you can find it in the link in the description box. So yeah, everything will just be there. But yeah, I think it'd be great if you guys wanted to join. If you guys are watching from YouTube, we do have a really good community here, albeit it can be kind of quiet at times, but I'm hoping that it will be more active in the near future. All right, so we're gonna go on and jump straight into language learner profile. If this is your first time here, I will introduce to you guys what a language learner profile is. So I created a language learner profile, I guess a year or so ago. It was very important to me to understand why you're learning a language, right? So for me as a multi-language learner, I realized that there are moments when you are learning a language that it becomes really, really difficult to keep up with it. So I created a language learner profile. And I actually had my students way back in COVID, I actually asked them to create a PowerPoint to talk about themselves and highlight key things about themselves. And I thought this was so beneficial that I created my own PDF out of it. So again, I'm just gonna say it, this is my idea. So yeah, please guys don't steal it. But of course you can take or draw influence from it, and if you just want to purchase what I made here and you can change the design to however you wish, you can purchase it on my Ko-Fi account. So I will also link that in the description later after I end the stream. And you can design it to however way you want. But I'm just gonna give a very quick tour of this because I don't want to waste time and take it away from our grammar lesson today. Okay, so for the language learner profile, you can put your picture here and then you can say hello, I'm, and then just write whatever your name is here. I wrote Professor Hana because that is my title, and this is my language learner profile. So this little description is a little bit about yourself. For me, I wrote that my first language is Tagalog. I was born in the Philippines, and then I learned English as my second language, and I'm highlighting English here because that's what we're learning today, or what the stream is all about, or whatever language that you're learning. I was first introduced to English when I was 4 years old, when I moved to California. I became a native speaker when I was 11 years old. So I thought it was really nice that you guys can see an overview. So I created this little timeline of when did you first introduce yourself to the language? What did you do that would increase your knowledge of the language or language acquisition? And then is there any other special timelines that highlight, you know, like milestone markers of when you develop the language? So for me, to sum it down, I have first experiences with English. My location's California. Moved to California at age 4, enrolled in preschool. ESL courses, California. Despite moving to America, I had shown difficulty communicating what I wanted to say. Therefore, I was enrolled into ESL classes. And then I became a native speaker right around 2006. And I officially graduated my ESL courses in 5th grade, I believe. So I think it was 2005, 2006. And then I just, to be honest, I can't even remember the year I graduated. I just remember that when I got to 5th grade, they told me that it was the end of attending ESL courses. And sorry for the noises in the background, that was my ice maker. So, yeah. Methods I liked. So I mentioned here ideas or activities that I did in class when I was studying a language, and I was reflecting on what usually helped me learn the language. So this is different for everyone. I just wrote the ones that are meaningful for my experience. So I wrote that I really like class activities, talking to friends in person, online, or calls, reading books aloud, listening to videos, music, the radio, conversations, writing, stories, journals, poems, lyrics, reading, research papers, any fictional stories, online journals, text messages, and song lyrics. So when you're creating your own for this, you can just write down like some ideas here. All right, next, the purpose. So English is the dominant language in my country. English is spoken during school and work. English is spoken in international language. I want to make friends using the English language. I want to speak in English every day without any problems trying to express what I want to say. I know some of you guys might have various purposes for why you're learning English, so I made a box here just to write however much you want to say here. Long-term goals. So you can write as many goals as you want. I put 5 as the maximum. It can be less than that, maybe 3 minimum. My first goal, I want to study English at least 15 minutes a day, or at least 90 minutes a day. Rule of thumb when it comes to learning a language, 15 minutes is the minimum, and then maximum should be no greater than should be no greater than 90 minutes, just because personally I worked with a handful of students, and as a result of working with them, I realized usually everyone's brain starts to fizz out around the 60-minute mark. So I noticed that there's a pattern of how much your brain is willing to learn a language before it starts overthinking and you start to make a lot of mistakes. So usually I try to cap it at 90 minutes. Goal number 2, I want to talk to friends using the English language. Goal number 3, I want to think in English and maybe dream in English if possible. Goal number 4, I want to understand quickly and be able to translate in Tagalog and English with no problem. And number 5, I want to sing English songs. So again, everyone's goals are different. These are the ones that I hold close to me as to why I learned English. And in my situation, since I moved to America, I honestly didn't have a choice. I have to know English, and that's why the level that I have and the speed that I'm speaking in is a direct result with it. Then the second page for the learner profile is to reflect on good experiences when you learned the language. So for me, it was when the teacher praised me for answering correctly. I could make friends using English. English games were fun because I could understand them. And working in English group projects with my classmates were fun. Bad experiences learning English. So I wrote this down here because I want you guys to not only recognize the good part of learning a language, but also the bad too. So my classmates laughed at me when I spoke with limited or broken English, which was unfortunately a really sad memory of mine when I was in elementary school. The teacher told me that my English should, my English should already be at a certain level. This is kind of unfortunate because depending on your level, there is an expectation of where you should be in terms of your age when you were younger at the time. But as an adult, it's a bit more flexible because we all come from different background. So I feel like adults are a little bit more flexible in that sense. ESL courses took places during nap time, so I wasn't allowed to have any naps, which was kind of unfortunate because I would be, well, the good news about me was I was super hyperactive when I was younger, so I technically did not need any naps, but when I look back on it, I probably deserved a nap before I continued being put through another round of education. So while my classmates slept, I was thrown into English, and then I was thrown back into normal lessons in class. So it was kind of a hard time for me, but I was fortunate enough to get through that. And then grammar was difficult to learn at times. So some of you guys might not be aware, but in the past, grammar was actually considered my weakest subject in school. And I remember that I usually get like B minuses, almost a C on them. But over time, I got better. But I was still not confident in taking tests for grammar. However, the irony is that now I'm much older and I'm a professor, grammar is now my number one. So, yeah, who knew? Life is funny. And finally, I wanted to add a reflection and improvement section. This is where you can think about, oh, what is something that you wish was implemented in your learning experience to make it much more fun for you, or what could you have done to make your experiences better and utilize your language learning experience. So for me, English could have been more fun for me if my classmates didn't laugh at me or if my teacher had stepped in to defend me. So if I had someone on my side, I probably would be a bit more assertive when it came to learning English, rather than feel a bit insecure. So I might have enjoyed English grammar lessons more if the teacher gamified it rather than a 15-minute warm-up lesson at the start of class every morning. My teacher used to give me like half sheets, and she would have us all complete this activity every single day, and I was not fond of it because it was just so boring. If my teacher had hyped the morning with like a gamified ESL, or sorry, it would be ELA, English language. No, ELD. That's the right word for elementary schools. ELD, English language development. If they had given me a sorry, I can't even talk. If they had given me a gamified ELD, I think my mornings might have been more pleasant. And I would also be more, how would I say? I would be more productive in school. So like I would feel more excited to come to school in the morning. English became more important to me when I learned that my friends used the language. This is important, especially for those of you who have a purpose to why you're learning English or any other language. Understanding English became so important to me as an adult when I learned the importance of learning languages, so I dedicated myself to understand the English grammar better so that I can teach it. I learned that learning languages are fun. I learned that learning languages are fun when you have a purpose to use it, which makes the experience more gratifying than it is a drag to study it. So, again, this is more of a reflection of my experience. I realized as I grew up as a student learner, what was important to me in my learning experience is being purposeful. So whatever I learn, I need to apply it right away. And if I couldn't apply it right away, then I didn't see the reason to why I should learn it. But that was my problem as a language learner at the time. And again, everyone is different. So if you don't agree with my views, you're more than welcome to change your answers, whether you use this or you don't. So Again, this is the sample page of what I'm selling online in my Ko-Fi store. So if you choose to purchase this, you get a blank page like this, and then you can fill it up to your heart's content, whatever fits your needs. So again, it's more for your personalized experience. And I like to refer to this, especially when I feel like, I'm having a hard time in the language. Why am I learning this? And then also asking yourself, what are some methods that did work with me and what didn't work for me? You can always look at that under the methods I like section, because a lot of the times I learned that language learners who have a hard time trying to learn a language have a difficult time changing their methods and approaching how their learning environment should be treated rather than just following things to a T. So yeah, that's why I created this. It's just for your understanding of you as a language learner. All right, so the next on my presentation, before I jump into it, and I am so sorry if I'm talking way too quickly. I'm just getting through this very fast as possible. We have our language acquisition tracker, or LAT. I also created this one. So the language acquisition tracker, the whole idea of this is that it's supposed to be a weekly tracker. And a lot of my language learners ask me, Professor Hana, how do I know how much I've improved? So I created the SMART goal. So this one stands for SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. I try to make it at least like a daily or a weekly thing, just so you can see like what can you achieve per day or per week. I try to have you guys limit it to a week just because you can do so much in a week on here rather than a day. And of course, if you put too much in a day, you won't be giving yourself enough time to just let all of the information and knowledge that you gathered just sink in. You need that time to process. So you don't need to rush yourself into learning a language quickly, because you need time to just let that sit inside your head and just understand it at your own time, etc. So anyways, SMART goals. Specific. So this is the section where you talk about what did you learn specifically for the week. Measurable. Be able to communicate with little to no struggle in speaking. Attainable. Is it attainable within a 15-minute to 60-minute practice per day? Relevant. Yes, because I will be able to apply it in a professional setting. And time-bound, 1 week. So measurable would be like you have to test yourself. How can you show that it is possible that you have that? Which is why I said making this into a weekly tracker instead of a daily tracker or a monthly tracker. It's because you're able to see that growth in that 1 week. Attainable is you have to be very realistic. Is it possible for you to complete this with a certain time frame? So we are definitely going to work on language acquisition tracker, possibly today. I'll try to make a copy of it so we can work on that together. Relevant, yes, because I will be able to apply it in a professional setting. This one, we can change the answer depending on what you're using this English for. So if you want to say, I can apply it to my everyday speech, that's perfectly okay. Time-bound, I recommend keeping it as 1 week. So keep it as 1 week just because you can see so many things happen here. So here we have motivational purposes. You're gonna tell me why is it important per week, and this will always change per week. You have your notes here on the side of what you want to write here. Task and activity, so you can actually write the date of the week. You can actually put like multiple days of the same day. It can be one per day, multiple, etc. Just attain it within 1 week. And I try to limit it to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just 8 tasks. Don't overwhelm yourself too much. And you can write how many minutes you spent on that. Like, for example, I wrote study grammar lessons for 20 minutes, shadow conversations for 20 minutes, shadow pronunciation, study next grammar lesson, watch a video, listen to a podcast, dictation activity, error correction. Let's see. Let me explain briefly what shadow conversation means. Shadowing, if you heard the expression that you're shadowing someone, it means you're just copying someone. So shadow conversations, as it says, is that you're listening to a conversation and you're repeating after them. Shadow pronunciation is just pronouncing the pronunciation like the person said it. Then here we have a dictation activity. Dictation is basically you're writing an answer aloud, or you're writing an answer out loud. So maybe you're responding to let's say an interview question. So someone asks you a question and then you respond to it. That's dictation activity. And then error correction is just if you have your own writing and you know how to find your own error, you can just correct yourself. And then this section here basically answers for your measurable output here. So when you said be able to communicate with little to no struggle in speaking, you have to follow it up with your milestone or progress markers. So this is like an example of introduction. Introduce myself via writing. Hello, my name is Hannah. I am 27 years old. I made this one. I was still 27. I'm 28 now. And I am an expert linguist. I love studying languages because I want to make new friends. Introduce myself via conversation, and then you can give yourself a link. And I just linked down my YouTube channel at the Homebody Cafe here. Reflection. So what worked? So you can ask yourself, okay, what worked this week? What didn't work? And you can explain to yourself why it didn't work on the next page, because I provide like the questions. Oh wait, no, I don't. Interesting. Never mind. So what didn't work? So this is just a reflection for the week, which is why I kept the boxes small. And then these are notes of what you can improve on for next week, which is awesome because sometimes the things you want to do for the first week doesn't work out. So you got to give yourself that grace and that leeway to do better next week. So yeah, that is everything from Language Learner Profile and Language Acquisition Tracker. I was able to squeeze that in for like 10 minutes each, which is perfect because like now we can jump into our next segment here. Cool. So now we are going to focus on English for everyone. I'll make a reminder again at the end of the session. So sorry for jumping between these two slides. If you guys want access to the PDF files, I will post it in the links in the description below after this live stream has ended, because I still have to edit the description box. And hopefully in the near future, I won't have to. So I'll just put my Ko-Fi down there. Or just find my Ko-Fi link, which is already in the description box, and you can find it in my shop. So you can access it there. So please support small businesses. It would mean so much to me. All right, so without further ado, we are going to jump to our English for Everyone lesson. Just 1 second while I set this up. That's not it. All right, we did it. Let's see if this works. Ta-da! Oh my goodness. I hope this works well. Let me just do this. Boom. Okay. Cool. So I have my little tablet here. This is where I will do my edits for this specific thing. So whatever I do on my tablet, you will see on my screen. This is the book that I'm working on. It's called English for Everyone, Coursebook Level 3 Intermediate. I am an intermediate level teacher, so understandably, we will be working with intermediate level books. So I will be flipping it vertically in a second. Hold on a second. So we are looking at making conversations. So we're starting from the very beginning. So here we are at making conversations. Whoops. Why did it do that? Interesting. Okay, there we go. So on your screen, it might look small. Just give me 1 second while I flip this. Just so I can make this page bigger for you. And then I'm gonna change this in a second. So many things to do on here. Ta-da! There we go. So it should be vertical, or yeah, it should be vertical, not vertical, sorry. It should be horizontal for you guys now. So hopefully the screen is bigger for you. If you need me to adjust, just give me 1 second while I do that. Oops. I'm definitely trying to adjust this for y'all. Mm-hmm. Sorry, guys. Yeah. And then let me just move this a bit. And don't worry, if you can't see the edit right now, it's because I have two screens. And the moment I press OK, it's gonna adjust it. I'm trying to make it as centered as possible, so I hope it doesn't bother you guys that it might be off-center just a little bit. Okay. Hopefully that should be good. Okay. Boom. There we go. Hopefully this looks good for everyone. Yeah. This looks awesome. Alright, so we're looking at making conversation. We have... Sorry, 1 second, we'll do this. Boom. So right now, you guys shouldn't be able to see my screen. You should just see the tablet screen here. So making conversations. In spoken English, you might hear small questions added to the ends of sentences. These are called question tags, and they are used to invite someone to agree with you. So, sometimes in American English, I have to distinguish it as American and British sometimes. I can't really speak for Australian because I don't have that many Australian friends. I think I have like 2 at most. So I'm kind of limited on that here. But as far as I know with English and American English and British English, I can kind of tell them apart. This book kind of mixes between the two. So question tags in English, American English, sorry. We often say right as the question marker or the question tag at the end of sentence. You're going to the beach, right? Or this is true, yeah? So sometimes we say stuff like that. I don't recall that we say isn't it or aren't you. Some of the words that are selected here, we don't really use these words a lot. Maybe some people do, but I think maybe in terms of slang, we use different words like yeah or huh or right, etc. So let me just highlight them here. Key language question tags. So the simplest question tags use the verb to be with a pronoun matching the subject of the sentence. The statement, the music is very loud, isn't it? So like I mentioned here, I'm actually gonna color it in blue to show you guys that we have alternative. So we might say the word huh right there. Like, the music is very loud, huh? Or we would even say the music is very loud, right? We might even say, let me see. We might even say that too, yeah. So the music is very loud, yeah? The music is very loud, huh? Sorry, that's such a weird way to say it. The music is very loud, huh? Or the music is very loud, right? So we would say that more in slang. It's the same application as question tags like, isn't it? So further examples of question tags. He's tall, isn't he? You're cold, aren't you? I'm late, aren't I? So for the statements with I, use aren't I, not am't I, in the negative question tag. So this is very special. It's an exception rule, unfortunately. Also, let me change my color. Back to black. There we go. Aren't I? And then, I'm not talking too much, am I? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so I was thinking for a second. I'm like, why is this weird? So they said negative question tags, you change am to are when it's a negative. That's what I'm trying to highlight there. But when it is in the positive, it's going to be, I'm not talking too much, am I? So this might be confusing to you guys because both of these sentences are both negative sentences. It's when it's at the end. That's what they're marking here as the negative tag. Because if you look at over here, this is the positive tag. There's no contraction there. So that's the only exception. And I'm highlighting this because English for Everyone is looking at grammar, so it's more formal, but they do talk a little bit about the conversational aspect of English. In terms of slang, that's where I will cover most of it because this book doesn't cover that. Alright, so I'm sliding down. Wait for a minute while it buffers. There we go. So the tip, question tags are mostly used in informal situations, which is very true. But I kind of feel like they do use that in formal situations nowadays too. That's my assumption. I find it that it's much more polite. It's a very... There's an expression when people say, like, you nudge your shoulder when you tell someone, like, you're implying a message to them. So when you nudge someone's shoulder, you're like saying, oh, you're saying it in a very polite way. So you're saying, the music is very loud, isn't it? So it kind of sounds like I'm implying that you should turn down the radio because it's too loud, for example. That's kind of like, I think I would call it the semantic. I might be wrong. The semantic aspect of it is just the way that it's being phrased there is that you, because I say, oh, the music is very loud, isn't it? It's like I'm kind of saying with my body posture or with my gaze, I'm communicating to the person to turn down the music because it's too loud. So that's why I find it that this phrase kind of feels like it's more formal now in modern day. So I'm gonna write that as a note. Correct me if I'm wrong, you're more than welcome to, because not all teachers, not all, but no one is perfect. So in modern time, so I'm gonna write here, in modern day, this expression feels more formal. In everyday conversations. That's at least my commentary on this. It's because if I want to be very direct and frank to you, I would just say the music is very loud. That's me being very direct, very informal. But again, the example of question tags are basically hedging. So I'll write this down. Question. Sorry if my cue looks weird to you guys. Question tags are a form of hedging. So hedging, again, it's like a nice way of saying something. At least that's my note for you guys. Hedging is like saying, you're saying nice things to someone without being too direct. You wouldn't say, the music is very loud. You would say, the music is very loud, isn't it? It feels like a form of hedging, and this kind of stuff that I'm highlighting, these would be more of the advanced English. Because we're starting to take note of how people say things, like, why do people put words like this? It's supposed to create some sort of tone, or what's the impression behind it, etc. That's more advanced English there. So it's a form of hedging, and which is why I would argue that in modern English, it feels more formal than informal nowadays. Or at least that's what I think, because in American English right now, I feel like being more direct can be rude, but it's also more informal, I would say. So anyways, moving on, we have, to form the question tags, we have the music is very loud. We know this is a positive sentence because of the verb. And then let me change this back to black. We know it's positive because the verb is positive. The music is very loud. And then it becomes negative at the end, isn't it? And then the music isn't very loud, is it? So we have our negative verb and then our negative contraction. And the question tag has to be positive. So in question tags, you don't do double negatives. I know in informal English, we do use double negatives, but in grammar English, we don't ever use double negatives. You don't say the music isn't very loud, isn't it? It would be very confusing because two double negatives technically mean that it's canceling each other out. Therefore, the sentence would actually mean the music is very loud. So it's just very confusing, and it makes even native English speakers would be like, what? And they have to think about it for a second. So if you want to do double negatives just to laugh and see a native speaker have a moment of just like processing what you just said, use double negatives just for fun. But again, I will stress it. Don't ever use double negatives in a formal situation or in a grammatical professional setting, especially in writing, just because it's so unnecessary and it makes your paper look a little bit less serious to take, because you're using grammar that's not accepted typically. So yeah. And then just remember, with question tags, you want them to be opposites of each other. All right, so we are on the next page. We're looking at some examples. So add question tags to the sentences. So I must remind you guys that you must be at least an intermediate level speaker to understand this, because I will not go over these for the time being. In the future, I might bring back beginner 1 and 2. I don't know how popular that will be if you guys are watching this video, but if it becomes popular and in demand, I will definitely bring it back, and then we could link this video to those videos. So here you need to know your be verbs. Your be verbs must be mastered at this point. So here, they're good sorry, I'm just stuttering today. They're good dancers, aren't they? So how do you know that the verb is aren't they? It comes from this verb over here. They are. So we have our they right here, and we have our are from this contraction. And then because this is a positive, your question tags need to be a negative. That's the whole formula for this. So next, what do we know here? She's not very well, and then you would say your question tag. So what do you need? First, you need your verb. Your verb is right here. And we said here, she's not, right? So this is a negative sentence. So because it's negative, we know that this must be a positive sentence. So we have our verb is, sorry, I'll make that prettier, is, and then we have our pronoun. We have she. She's not very well, is she? Next one again. You're not leaving now. So you have, again, we're looking at this phrase. Since we see are not there, this is a negative sentence. Then this sentence here must be positive. You're not leaving now. And then you need to find your verb, right? So step 1, I'm just going to do color coding to help you guys again. Step 1 is understanding a negative and positive. We're going to do step 2 in blue. We need to find our verb. Our verb is right here, the contraction your. So we know apostrophe RE is going to be R. And then the last one, we're going to go back to red here. We have you as a pronoun, and then go over here. Are you? So you're not leaving now, are you? And I think I've heard people say this in a normal conversation, so this one's still applicable. You're not leaving now, are you? Or technically, sorry, I don't know why I'm saying that twice. Technically, we would just say, oh, are you leaving now? Instead of saying, you're not leaving now, are you? Again, this kind of message kind of implies, I don't want you to leave. That is the advanced understanding of this. Like, oh, you're not leaving now, are you? It's like, oh, you're leaving so early. Did I do something wrong? Or, oh, I'm surprised that you're leaving early. Or it could also imply, I don't want you to leave, etc. So it just depends on the context of what's happening and the relationship between these speakers. So again, we're going back to her dress is beautiful. So we have her dress is beautiful. So based on this context, step 1, is this sentence positive or negative? If you said that it is positive, it is correct. So how do we know it's positive? Because there is no not. So it's not is not present in this section. So that tells me this must be negative. Okay, next we need to find our verb, which is the word is. And because we know it's a negative, we have to make it into a contraction, isn't. And then because we know we're talking about her dress, right? So sorry, I'm just gonna do like wiggles here just so you can see the difference. Her dress, we are referring it to it. So we would say, her dress is beautiful, isn't it? All right. So hopefully you guys are able to understand the pattern with this, because from this point on, I'm just going to move a little bit quickly with these activities just so we can move on with the next chapter. Number 4, John's hilarious. The answer should be isn't he? And usually it's because John is a male masculine name, so we would say isn't he? We have our is from here, and because we know this is a positive, this must be a negative. So you're tired, aren't you? The music is fantastic, isn't it? The food isn't healthy, is it? Okay. So again, I'm just gonna highlight where I found the answers. Aren't you is because of the word your is here, and because it's a positive, this must be negative. You is from here, and you is right there. Music, we have our verb here. Because we know it's positive, this must be negative. The music is referred to it, so isn't it. The food isn't healthy, again, food is referred to it. And because this is negative, this must be positive. And that's it. So same thing again on this activity, adding question tags. She's a great guitarist, isn't she? The venue isn't very nice, is it? The weather is perfect, isn't it? Then we have the food is delicious, isn't it? For you're dressed nicely. Oh, this is such a weird way to say it. I don't think I use this, or my friends do. You're dressed nicely, aren't you? It feels kind of weird because we don't use that in our everyday conversation, or at least for my personal experience. So it feels and sounds very weird to say it that way. It's very cold, isn't it? Okay. We have an audio activity. I will let you guys listen to it once. If there were people here, so again, if you guys subscribe to the Homebody Cafe, especially to my Ko-Fi, usually I would have you in call with me and then we would do this together. But since I'm here by myself today, I'm just gonna play it once and you guys will just listen to the conversation by yourself. So I'm just pulling up the audio because this book comes with a free audio that they have online, and I will just play it for you. There we go. So it's 1.6, listen to the audio and answer the questions. I am going to lower the volume of this music so you can hear. Well, actually, let me just pause the music for now. Okay. So now you listen to the conversation here, and I'll crank up the volume so you guys can hear it. So listen to the audio and answer the questions. 5 people are attending a birthday party. What I typically like to do is just go over the questions first so you know what to look for or listen for. So the example is Uncle Don thinks that party is wonderful. True or false? They put true. Number 1, John is Wilma Barrington's boss. 2, Wilma only meets one of John's friends. 3, Julie and Chung are friends with John. 4, Chung doesn't like the band playing at the party. 5, Julie looks at the food Julie looks at the food but says she isn't hungry. And 6, Chung wants to dance before eating. So look out for the questions in this section. I'm gonna go ahead and play it now.
Happy birthday, John. It's a wonderful party, isn't it?
Thanks, Uncle Don. May I introduce my boss, Wilma Barrington? Wilma, this is my uncle, Don.
Pleased to meet you, Wilma.
Delighted to meet you, too.
Wilma, I'd like you to come and meet my friends, Julie and Chung. Guys, this is Wilma, my boss.
It's great to meet you, Wilma.
You, too. And great to meet you, Chung. The band's great, isn't it?
It certainly is.
I'm starving. The food looks absolutely delicious, doesn't it?
Yes, Julie. It looks lovely.
Let's dance first. We can eat later, can't we?
Okay then, Chung. One dance, and then I'm going to the buffet.
All right, so if you need to listen to that again, I highly recommend you pause this video, listen to it again, because I'm just going to give you the answers for this question or this activity. So number 1, John is Wilma Barrington's boss. True or false? The answer is false. Number 2, Wilma only meets one of John's friends. Is false. 3, Julie and Chung are friends with John. The answer is true. 4, Chung doesn't like the band playing at the party. Is false. 5, Julie looks at the food but says she isn't hungry. Is false. And number 6, Chung wants to dance before eating. True. Okay, this is your answer. So if you got this correct, amazing job on your listening skills, and we're just gonna go ahead and move on. Just again, with the commentary on the audio, I think it's great. I would probably use I would say the comments on, oh, the food looks good, doesn't it? I would probably say that, because it's more of a praising application in terms of semantics. This is me speaking from like advanced English knowledge, an application of why you would use that language. But I would say this is kind of an overkill in terms of American English application, because we don't always say, oh, let's dance first, or what was the expression they said? Something about dancing, and then they added a question tag at the end, and I thought to myself, that's an overkill. We don't say that. We just say, oh, let's dance later. We would just say that straight to the point, because that's just how it is in American English. All right. So enough of my ramblings. We'll move on to 1.7. We are going to compare formal and informal conversations. So this is, I believe, is this semantics or pragmatics? I always mix up these two. I apologize for that. Chatting to friends uses informal language, while greeting people at work may use formal language, especially with strangers, right? So we have the examples. Good morning, Miss Bescos. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Informal. Hi, Jane. How are you doing? Fine, thanks. And then introducing a friend in a formal setting. May I introduce Emma Wilson? I'm very pleased to meet you. I'm delighted to meet you too. Informally. This is Marta. Great to meet you. You too. Now we are at 1.8. Fill in the gaps using the phrases in the panel. So this is key languages that you should know from beginner English. It's just conversational, introducing someone, introducing yourself. We have, good evening, Mr. Fisher. How are you? The next answer should be, well, if you need, again, before I give the answer, if you need to pause the video because you want to try and do this first, go ahead and pause now. And if you're ready, press play and I'll just give you the answer right away. So great. Blank to meet you. I would say great. And based on the context here, we have I introduced, delighted to meet is Tess, to meet you, how are you doing? The one that makes the most sense in this application would be to meet you too. So great to meet you too. Then we have this blank. So you could say this is Tess. I'm blank you, Miss McIntosh. This one would be I'm delighted to meet you. Hi, Cameron blank. How are you doing? Then may blank Dev Chandera I introduce. May I introduce? So you might have questions like, oh, how did I find out that these were the correct answers right away? So let me explain why great to meet you too would be more convenient in this answer. It's because if you are to compare it to the language up here in the formal versus informal, they tell you key things to look for, like fine, thanks, and you compare that with I'm very well, thank you. Whoops, make that much more cleaner. And then just compare these two. Let's see. May I introduce versus this is another example. Great to meet you, and then I'm very pleased to meet you. Compare these two. And then these two as well. Just connecting these two together. So you might notice in informal English, we're very straight to the point, very direct. So we usually drop a lot of the words and just get straight to the point. Whereas formal English is more, we have more words to provide, there's hedging involved, etc. So when you say the word like this, we know that it's going to fit with introduction. Oh, this is the person I want to introduce you to. So this is Tess. Makes the most sense. Sorry, I skipped the first one. Great to meet you too would just make more sense because even if you figured out everything else, it would make the most sense just to say great to meet you too, or nice to meet you too. So you could put nice here too, or nice to meet you too. That's more of a very informal way of responding. I'm blank something you, Miss McIntosh. Based on the context, we know that you're meeting someone, so you're trying to say, oh, it's great to meet you, or a pleasure. Because they said you, Mrs. McIntosh, when you say Mrs., this is already a marking of, sorry, I put informal. It's supposed to be formal. That's a marking for formal tone. Because if you are talking to your friends, you are on a first name basis. So you would go like, oh, this is this is Jones, or this is I keep saying Tate. Tess. This is Tess. This is John. This is Brittany, Maria, Emily, whatever. So you would go first name basis if it was informal. But the moment you say Mrs., it's already formal tone. So you have to opt for a much more formal way of saying like, oh, it's nice to meet you. So delighted to meet you is as formal as it can get. Then you have number 4, hi Cameron, how are you doing? This makes the most sense because you start with a question word. Question. So it's the W's and the H. What, where, what was it? What, where, why, when, and how. So the 5 question markers at the start of the question. At the start of a question sentence, sorry. So you would have those at the front. Then you would say, then it ends with a question mark. So that's already a giveaway. And then the last one is May blank Dev Chandera. You already know that this is like you're introducing someone in a formal tone. So you have the keywords may I introduce. So yeah, hopefully that helps break down some of these answers for you guys. All right, 1.9, mark the best reply to each greeting. All of these replies are correct, but some of them are more appropriate for formal or informal situations. So we have hi Joe, hi Mandy, or good afternoon, Mrs. Sullivan. So I'm gonna zoom in for a second for you guys. A tip that I would like to show you guys is that you need to focus on the picture. They mention here that if you see them carrying a briefcase, this is a mark of formal. So you can use the picture as a reference if needed. So there's no briefcase here, so it's informal. Also, their word choices, they said hi Joe or hello. I don't think a lot of English tests would be too hard on you when you say hi or hello, because hi and hello can be standard for more informal English. It can be both, technically speaking. I feel like the word hello, because it's longer in spelling, would be more under formal as a tone versus hi. Hi is more of an informal tone, but in reality, we use them both interchangeably, so it actually does not matter in real life whether you say hi or hello, because I might even hear people say, "Oh, hi, Mrs. Smith," or "Hello, Mrs. Smith." Both of them are both acceptable in American English. At least that's what I hear in my everyday life, so that's okay. Good evening, Mr. Ree, Rai, how are you? So because of this image here, and also let me just go ahead and scroll down so you guys have an idea to see all the questions so far. And if you need to pause because you want to do this yourself, go ahead and do it now. But without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and give the answer like before. So we have our formal marking, which is the briefcase, and also the word choice, good evening. Good evening is usually a sign of formal. So I'm just going to put F for formal, I for informal. How are you? So we need to find we need to look for the formal tone. So fine, thanks is informal. This one is formal. So this should be your answer. May I introduce Ruth Tate? We have a briefcase here. So, and also the word choices here all point to formal. So we need a formal answer. I'm delighted to meet you, Miss Tate. If you say great to meet you, Ruth, that would be, as you can see again, first name basis. First name is informal, and then Miss Tate, the moment you see this, is a sign of formal. All right. I'm delighted to meet you. I'm very pleased to meet you too. Or you too. So if you didn't recognize that there's a briefcase in the picture or the word choices here, the correct answer is something more formal, so I'm very pleased to meet you too. Next, this is Vicky. So based on the pictures, there's no briefcase, and they use the keyword this is, which is a sign of informal. So the answer should be great to meet you. KR, lovely to see you. I'm delighted to see you too, or Pete, great to see you too. So we're gonna go based on the drawing here, because technically the expression lovely to see you would be technically accepted in formal tone, but I would say that's established friendship. So again, anything with friendship, familiarity would be crossing informal. So informal with lovely to see you. And then there's the absence of the briefcase, so we have to find the informal one, so it would be this one. Pete, great to see you too. I'm just thinking about it because in conversation text, technically both would be okay. But if you are to take a grammar test, if you were to take a test and they were to put these two together, you would have to choose. Pete, great to see you would be the correct answer in terms of the grammar test aspect of it. I'm delighted to see you too would be informal, but in conversation, we interchange them, so it's acceptable to mix them up sometimes. It's just usually like that in real life. All right. Next, we have fill in the blank. Okay, so this one, I believe, is that you respond to the audio speaking out loud. I don't know if it's really necessary. Let me just double check online.
May I introduce Mr. Tom Grant?
I'm delighted to meet you.
Oh, it is. Okay, so this is respond to the audio speaking out loud. I believe this is a dictation activity. So, like I mentioned before, dictation is that you hear something and you write it down, and then you say it out loud, I think. Like, you can do a shadow conversation after that. So number one, we have, hi, Andrew, how are you doing? I'm just gonna play it for you.
Hi, Andrew. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks.
So I heard fine, thanks as the answer. Number two.
Great to meet you, Camilla.
You too.
Okay. Next one, number 3.
I'm very pleased to meet you.
I'm delighted to meet you too.
I'm delighted to meet you too. I believe there's a comma after that. Yeah, so usually whenever you say like fine, comma, thanks, you, comma, too, or you, meet you, comma, too. I think that's just a rule of the, before it too is there's a comma. Is usually the case. Alright, we're going to 4, Jatinda, this is my friend Amy.
Jatinda, this is my friend Amy.
Great to meet you.
Great to meet.
Good morning, Mr. Watt. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, I'm very well, thank you. Number 6.
May I introduce Mrs. Girdwood?
I'm very pleased to meet you.
Oops, combining them together. And then the last one.
This is Shahid.
Great to meet you.
So what's interesting is that a lot of the times when you say this is, they use the word great to meet you. In reality, we say nice to meet you. We usually say, oh, nice to meet you, or hi, good to meet you. Good to meet you is another one. Very slang, very informal. Okay, so that's all of the activity for this one. And we are at vocabulary. So we might actually just do 2 lessons today. I don't think we'll be able to cover 3. So we'll save 3 for next time. So we do have our countries. I can just read them aloud for you using my accent. If you guys need a reference, my accent is Californian accent. I've been tested on my accent and I'm usually around the 90 percentile. It's not because it's bad per se, it's because in America we have so many accents depending on where your location is, and of course your community influences the way that you speak. So there's always going to be a mix of everything. And the chat that I let me see if I remember, the test I took was from an application called Elsa, and she uses standard English. And if I remember correctly, standard English is only in a small percentage of the state, which is hilarious to me. I think it's like in the mid upper or western English. I remember I took notes on this. I totally forgot where though, but actually let me just look it up very quickly. Where is standard English? That is funny. Yeah, because there was this whole conversation of what is considered which part of America is standard English. Because we do have a standard, quote, quote, standard English. And the standard English is Midwest. Midwest, US. And I have to show it to you guys. Give me 1 second while I change my screen. Personally, I find this hilarious just because Midwest is a very small area for those who speak the standard English. So the standard American English is Midwest, but most dialectology work has found that there is no region without a regional accent. For example, see the Atlas of a North American accent. So standard American English was created by the small group of the US, and if we were to look for it, the standard speech is spoken nowhere in America as such. It is based on RP, which is British Received Pronunciation, which was adopted with American alterations in the early 20th century by the linguist William Tilley. So this is what I'm saying, that if you are to be tested on your accent in English, there is no perfect standard English, because depending on where you are on the US, there's different accents. You have, if you go to New York, there's a New York accent. There's the East Coast accent. If you go to California, there's a Californian accent. If you go to Texas, you have a Texan accent. So yeah, they're just slightly different in pronunciation, but the words are still the same. It just has an accent. So if you take a pronunciation test, take it with a grain of salt. If you get 90% and above, you're technically a fluent speaker, or native speaker if you grew up in the US, and that should be more than plenty for you guys. And I'm just saying that just because there's no perfect accent, even though some people force the idea that there is a standard English. There is not. I'm saying this again, there is not a standard English accent, even though there is like a title for it. Should it be accepted as a standard English American accent? No, because it said so right here that it was adopted from British. Let's see, sorry, it's right here. It is based on the British Received Pronunciation, which was adopted with American alteration in the early 20th century. Guys, we are in the 21st century. So times have changed drastically, so that's the reference. So take it again. Don't take it that you have to be perfect in getting that accent, because it doesn't exist, or it's not even applicable. I think if anything, whatever you see in movies that represents American accent, those are the most popular ones you would hear. But of course, I encourage you to look up American accents all around the world, or in America. There's probably a video where there's a lot of people who are impersonating different accents in America, and it's just amusing to watch. So really, at the end of the day, I don't care about your accent. I just care that I understand what you're trying to say. But enough of that spiel. We're gonna jump back very quickly to that's not it. This one. Back to pronouncing countries. So again, I'm gonna pronounce it with the Californian accent that I have. So again, if different places might have different accents, up to you. I'm not gonna argue with you guys. My personal belief is that anything that has a proper noun means like a name. Usually proper nouns are the hardest to pronounce, mainly because depending on where you're from, whatever phonetic inventory or accent or pronunciation that you use to say that name will influence how it should be quote unquote originally said. So yeah, I rest my case. We're looking at the first one, wherever my pen went. It just disappeared. Here we are. We have Canada, United States of America, or you can say the US. They usually say the US. Mexico, Cuba, Bolivia, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Venezuela, Paraguay, Uruguay, Brazil, Algeria, Nigeria, Uganda, South Africa, Egypt, Sudan, Kenya, Portugal, Spain, Republic of Ireland or ROI, Netherlands, France, United Kingdom or the UK, so same thing here, the UK. We have Germany, Italy, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Poland, Greece, Romania, Turkey, Russia, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates or UAE, Pakistan, India, Mongolia, then I gotta scroll up, China, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, South Korea, Vietnam, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. Okay, and we are gonna stop right here for our lesson from where things are. We will definitely come back here next time. So now that I have some time left at the end of class, I'm going to make this, for example. Sorry. I'm gonna go back here while I make a duplicate. So wait 1 second while I update something here. I am aware you guys can't see my screen right now, so just wait 1 second. I have to make a copy. Alrighty, so I can now change my screen. Alright. We made an example of this. So let's say you purchased this from me, or you made your own copy of it in however way possible. I don't care. But again, if you want to purchase this from me and show support, I would truly appreciate that. I misspelled English. Good job, me. So allow me to show you what to do here. So what subjects will you achieve be studying? So specifically, we are working on English grammar. Or I'm gonna say EFE because it's English for everyone. Chapter 1 through 2, or however many that we cover. Since we do this once a week, I might do 2 times a week. We'll see how this goes. We'll play it by ear, and then I will also establish my schedule soon in the near future. We'll see how this goes. Excuse me. How do you know you've achieved it? You can say here, I've completed activities from the lecture book and practice book. So attainable, is it attainable within the time frame bound? You could say yes, in 1 week. I'm just gonna say 1 to 2 weeks. Nah, I'm just gonna do 1 week. So relevant, and then I'll put here studied for 60 minutes. So relevant, does it align with your long-term objective and value? Yes, it does, because I'm just gonna put BC for because developing my conversation skills. You can change it to however what you want to do. It really doesn't matter. But the rule usually changes with whichever chapter, because it becomes more specific on the jargon and what you're learning in that frame. So time-bound, ambitious but realistic end time. So I would say 1 week. And then you have your motivational purposes. You write down what motivates you to learn this. So you can say here, right here, improve my English. And ... whatever. If you have any notes of something that was hard for you to remember, you put it here. So I just put text here just to fill in the blank. Today's date is 11/7/2023. If you guys had no idea, in California we put the month first, the day, then the year. So what did we do today? We did grammar. We have EFE, chapter 1. And then we could write here grammar. And we could say in total we did like 60 minutes. You can also say that we did a listening activity. And then you could say whatever activity number, 1.6 or something. I'm just putting random numbers because I don't even remember myself. And then you would say like maybe you did for 10 minutes. Cool. So you're getting an idea or timeline of how much time you spent in learning it. So this could be cool for some people who really appreciate seeing how much they've improved as a learner. What I'm doing here is I'm just copy pasting the check mark to show that we've done it. Okay. And then you can write more if you wish. So you have your milestone progress markers. So this one you could say, I can tell the difference between greeting and introducing someone in English, informal English, and formal English. And then you could give your example here by saying, I'd like to introduce Claudia to you. Versus, this is Claudia. Or maybe it might be better if I just put them separate like this. I'd like to introduce Claudia to you. This is Claudia. Interesting. This is just capitalized. I can tell the difference between. There we go. You can say greet in informal and formal English. So example, hello. Or good morning. You can say that too. Good morning. How are you today? Versus hi. Sorry, not hi, question mark. Hi. How you doing? So if needed, you can also mark it as, sorry, formal, informal. And then again, I'd like to introduce, this is Claudia. Okay. And those are an example of F and I, formal versus informal. You have notes here. What worked today? You can talk about, for example, the listening to the audio. Or like, let me see here. Reading the questions aloud first before answering. Listening to the audio. I try to delete this part. I know, I put so much effort into this, guys. I know, I'm aware. So, questions allowed for before listening to the audio and answering the questions. Help me know what I was looking for. So like that, for example. Okay, and then this one, what didn't work? What didn't work was, I'm just giving an example, too many activities were too repetitive. The activities were repetitive. And I got bored easily. Okay, that's one for example. You don't have to agree with me. This is just my spot here. Things I can improve on. You can say I should watch more videos online or in films where they practice speaking in formal and informal English. There you go. That's just an example of what you could write here. And this is all for you. It's all for your personal benefit and gain. So, yeah. Before I go and let you guys go for today, if you guys look under the description box in the in the YouTube video, I have my Ko-Fi account. Oops. So I have this one. This is where's my Ko-Fi account? I'm usually signed in. Ko-Fi.com/ not Hollow Teacher. The Homebody Teacher. This should be it. Ta-da! This is my account. So if you support this, you can go to the shop here. And this is where I post my language learner profile style. So there's a pink one, there's a blue one. But again, once you have the link or the code to access through and make your own copy on Canva, it's explicitly made on Canva, so you should have a Canva account to use it. Hopefully, everything works fine. If not, you can redesign it, and which is totally okay with me. It's just, please note that I made all of this by myself based on my experiences, so I would appreciate if you guys don't steal it and reduplicate it. I am a small business, so yeah, just consider sharing this and having people purchase their own language learner profile or weekly language acquisition tracker here. So if we're opening this, you can actually see an example, and I have the link to see the example here. So if you click that, you can actually see a full page of it. And that's what it looks like. This is the example page, and this is the blank page of what you will be using. And again, if you don't like the design, you can change it yourself to however your heart's desire on Canva. But yeah, it's a PDF that can be edited via Canva. Please see the picture and preview media for details of the PDF product. So once you purchase it, you have a PDF file or PDF that gives you the link to access it. And please do not, again, please do not spread it and share with people. Instead, please encourage them to buy from my Ko-Fi just because it would help me hopefully make a business out of this, because I do want to teach full-time if possible online. And if you guys are interested in subscribing to me on my Ko-Fi, I will be introducing a lot of new things here on the Homebody Cafe YouTube channel. Hopefully more consistent if I have more people here. And I do post updates of what's happening on here. If you look under services, I do have private lessons for teaching English. So if you are interested, it's under the services icon here. And then I just update you guys on my gallery, what's new. Like the THC podcast has arrived. And this was about, I think, a month ago since I've done this. I have yet to I won't say regroup. I have yet to meet with my former friends again. So hopefully we'll get to do that at least once a month due to our busy schedules. But hopefully it might become consistent in the near future, but we shall see. And of course, if you want to subscribe, go ahead, check out all of my subscription options here, see what you have access to. If you guys consider supporting me on this YouTube channel and also through Ko-Fi, I would be so appreciative of that, because I would love to make this as a full-time job if possible. And yeah, joining the Discord is free. You can see all the stuff there, and if you're a member, you get more access to more exclusive things in the future, and of course, get amazing discounts too from materials and private lessons too. So yeah, that's about it for today's session. I want to go ahead and thank you guys for joining me in today's session. I hope this grammar lesson was beneficial to you guys. I am about to end my stream. Please consider subscribing to my Ko-Fi, joining our Discord, and I wish you all a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Please eat something, please drink water and stay hydrated. It's starting to get a little bit chilly here in the US, so bundle up and stay warm. If you are in tropical countries, stay hydrated, be safe, and I hope to see you guys soon in the next time. Okay, see you guys next week. Yeah. So see you then. Hopefully, it's going to be another grammar lesson.